Rather than boring you guys with a whole bunch of details about my past and about who I am, I'm going to keep that part brief because I came for you. And so for all of you here, anything that you want to ask me, anything, are they able to submit questions online?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions that you have, anything that you're wondering, give me a shot, okay? If it's about life, it's about school, about your future, about your health, anything that you want, about finances, about student loans, about careers, whatever you've got, fire away, okay? Please do not hold back and do not be bashful. I don't get to do this very often because I'm extraordinarily busy. So while I'm here, use me as a resource, okay? I grew up in Monterey, local. I went to Palma High School as a kid, went off to UCLA, got an undergraduate degree in psychobiology many years ago, minored in business administration, went to USC and got my doctorate in physical therapy, worked for a couple years, started my business. Did not know what I was doing, but I just started, because remember, imperfect action is better than analysis paralysis, and thinking about doing it, you just jump in with both feet and you go. And here we are a little bit better than 20 years later. We have a $10 million company. We have 86 or so employees, 5 clinic locations and growing, and things are going great. I've since been married, had 3 children, and here I am. So what can I help you guys with? What are you struggling with? What questions do you have? Why are you majoring in what you're majoring in? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And nothing is off limits. If you've got dreams, if you've got aspirations, if you've got a future that you can envision for yourself, what does that look like and how can I help you get there? How can I help you collapse some time? Anybody? Okay, so, okay, perfect. Can I ask why? Your name? Karen. Speak up so I can hear you. Why do you want to be a PT? Have you had an experience as a patient before? You have. So you had an injury and they helped you get through it, or just you had some pain maybe? Okay. That's fantastic. Good. So I think what Karen's trying to explain, in case you guys weren't able to hear her, she started volunteering, she had some experiences around patients, and she really felt an affinity for it. Part of what I describe what I get from work as the juice. And what the juice is, let's say that Jen, for example, she's out for a run and she feels a sharp pang of pain in her knee all of a sudden, and then she can't straighten her knee and she's hobbling around, God forbid, right? And she makes an appointment with our office, she comes to see me, we do a functional exam on her, we take a thorough history of her, and we get her going with some corrective exercises, some stretches, some manual therapy techniques, things that we do with our hands. And then 6, 7, 8 visits later, no more knee pain, she can straighten her knee and she's running again. That is reward enough for me to see her progress. That's what we get as clinicians when we help someone. And I call it the juice. I don't know what else to call it, but man, does it feel good to help another human being. And I think that that's actually why we're all put on planet Earth, is to help each other, to figure out how we can insert ourselves in the world to create value for other people. Because dollars follow value. You guys are here to get an education, which will hopefully and theoretically help you go get hired at a job or begin a career yourselves, which will hopefully create income for you, right? So you can support yourself and for your future families. Well, imagine if you could do that and feel amazing while you do it, because you don't feel like you're working. All you feel like all day is that you're helping other people. And you're helping them by helping them move better, by educating them, by taking away and alleviating some of their pain so they don't have to take medications, so they don't have to have surgeries, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's the juice. That's what I call the juice. And that's why I do what I do as a physical therapist. And that's why I've tried over the years to multiply myself. Now we have 25 providers in our company so that we can actually, by extension, help more people experience that same phenomena. So it's a rewarding career, and I'm really glad that you stepped out of your comfort zone and started to volunteer and had that experience. That's fantastic. Gentlemen, what are your names and why did you raise your hands? Why do you want to become PTs? Junior? What's your name? Efren. Okay, Efren Junior. Awesome. Cool. Thank you, Efren. Hopefully whatever issue you got treated for is a distant memory for you now. It's not bothering you anymore and you're all solid, right? Okay, so imagine if I was your therapist and I got to be a little bit of a part of that journey. Nothing makes me happier than seeing Efren come into clinic, oh, John, I don't know what I did when I threw the baseball, my shoulder's killing me. And 4 weeks later, he's bench pressing, he's doing pull-ups, he's doing burpees, and he doesn't have any pain, and he's throwing the ball again, pain-free. That feels amazing for me to have had a little bit of part in that through education, through hands-on manual therapy, prescriptive therapeutic exercise, and all of the things that you've experienced as a patient. Those are the reasons why most of us get into PT. I got into PT because, like you, when I was in college and I was an undergrad at UCLA, I've always been a musclehead, knucklehead. I've always been in the gym lifting as heavy weights as I possibly can, right? And I was doing squats and I herniated a disc in my back. And then I got sent to a PT as a freshman in college, and I was like, dude, this is awesome. Like, this is what I want to do. Because I was pre-med at the time, I was going to be a surgeon. That's kind of, I had those blinders on, and then as soon as I had my experience with PT as a patient, I was like, the heck with med school, I'm going to PT school, man, because I love working out, I love helping people, and I like relationships with people. That's what I love, and I'm still doing it, more than 20 years later. So I'm sorry that you got hurt, but I'm happy that you had the experience with PT and you were inspired to kind of follow that path for your career. Your name, sir? Kevin. Oh man, you got to stop falling down the stairs. Nice. Good. Yes. And that's exactly the right reason to do it. Those are the reasons why most people get into our profession. They were athletes that got hurt, they had surgery at a young age, they had a family member who they drove or accompanied to physical therapy appointments, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, mom, dad, brother, sister, what have you, and they've had that experience and seen the progression of that person. From, oh man, I got hurt playing sports, to now I'm back playing sports and I don't hurt anymore. That's awesome. And really, the likelihood, Kevin, is that you'd probably have gotten back there on your own without intervention. It would have just taken you a lot longer. So what we do in clinic is we collapse time for people. You come to me with a problem, I'm gonna diagnose your problem mechanically. I'm gonna look through all of your subjective medical reports, read whatever scans you've had from your physicians, etc. And I'm gonna figure out a treatment plan that's gonna collapse time for you so you can get back to, what's your sport? Soccer? Soccer, my daughters too. So you can get back to the soccer field in the shortest amount of time possible, safely, stronger, faster, better than you were before. And that's what we do. So that's awesome. I'm glad you had that experience. Sorry you had those couple of injuries, but I'm glad you're not injured anymore. You came in a little late, so anything goes. Life questions, financial questions, school questions, future questions, whatever questions you have, I'm here as a resource, so use me, okay? Anybody else? Anybody else have questions?
How would I go about getting into specifically sports PT as opposed to just general population?
Great, okay. Good question. So, and it's one that we encounter a lot. In fact, I just interviewed a young man who we flew out a couple of weeks ago from New York, who's coming on board with our company November 1st. He wants to be a sports PT, and here's what he has done. One, he's been a lifelong athlete. He's gone through physical therapy school after his undergraduate degree. He's taken his board exams, he's licensed. He's got to come to California and pass what's called the laws and regulations exam. And once he is familiar with those laws and regulations and comes on board our company, we as a company will start plugging him in where he wants to practice. In other words, we'll start getting him introduced to athletic directors locally. We'll start getting him introduced to coaches. We might have him host a clinic, a community-based clinic for athletes, ACL injury prevention, for example, or the overhead throwing athlete, where he talks about shoulder and upper thoracic mechanics and rotator cuff mechanics, et cetera, and why it's important to have a healthy, strong rotator cuff for any athlete that's an overhead throwing athlete. Things like that. As far as professional teams, those level positions, generally you're going to need to know somebody to get into one of those training rooms with the San Francisco Giants or the Dallas Cowboys. That level, you're going to need to know some athletic trainers, some certified athletic trainers, and or some physical therapists who are already on board with that organization to kind of pop the door open for you. But if not, what I'd recommend is, let's say you're an unbelievable Dallas Cowboys fan. Well, here's what I would say. Get your clinical chops first. Worry about becoming a fantastic physical therapist first, because you're not going to specialize until you have the basics down, right? You're just not. And they're not even going to give you consideration until you have a lot of experience under your belt. And then move there. Go there. Get a job with a local, sports performance training clinic in that city where you want to work with that sports team, and start making connections and start putting yourself out there. Start making video content. Start giving tips to athletes and post them on Instagram, post them on Facebook. Start a YouTube channel where you give, quick rehab recipes for typical athletic injuries, and start developing a following that way. I mean, you guys, this is an entirely different world today than it was 20 years ago when I came out of graduate school, and it will be a completely different world 20 years from now than it is today when you guys are coming out of school. And that cycle is going to just continue to repeat itself, but it's probably going to be shorter and shorter cycles because technology is moving so fast. So put yourself out there. I would say that first and foremost. Don't be embarrassed about the quality of the content that you're putting out initially. Just put it out there and get better at putting out content more and more and more, because that's what's going to reach people. And by extension, I mean exponentially. You guys know how fast things can go viral. Let's say you put out one video that you just nail it, and all the physical therapists in the country are like, damn, that was a great video, good content. This dude knows what he's talking about, or this young woman is a badass, and we share it with our people in our networks, and they share it with their people, and overnight, quite literally, you are like the most famous athletic trainer or the most famous physical therapist on the planet because you made one video. But it wasn't one video, it was your 4,000th video that you did, and it just happened to be that one that got you over the edge. That's what you need to do, in my opinion. Sorry for the long-winded answer, but you asked. Anybody else? That was a great question. What's your name? Supreet. Are you a kinesiology major? What's your major? Biology major. Why?
Because I'm planning to go networking.
Okay, you want to be an ER doc. I hope I never have to meet you professionally. Never, ever, ever. Why are you interested in ER medicine?
I had the opportunity to shadow some doctors in my second year of college.
Awesome.
High school, and then from there I found out that
So did you guys hear what she said? She had the opportunity to shadow some doctors and she fell in love with it. So for those of you who haven't had an experience like you've had, Karen, already, where you've volunteered, I would encourage you to seek them out. Okay, for example, for us, we have 5 clinics, we have 25 providers. We have students in and out of our practices all the time. Some of them are just kind of like, volunteer, flower on the wall, sort of, they stand there. Some of them come out of their shell a little bit and they talk and they ask questions and they ask patients how they're doing and they offer to help us, et cetera, et cetera. But nonetheless, being in an environment like Supreet was, did I say that correctly? Thank you. With the ER docs, that is tremendous value for you. And believe it or not, for those of us that really enjoy what we do, we're happy to share. Like, we're happy to. Like, a lot of people will look at me, oh my God, I could never ask that guy to come. Of course you can. Like, why not? There are no limits in this world other than that which you put on yourself. Literally, 0 limits. And for my leadership team and for my extended clinical staff and all of our staff by extension, one of the things I constantly will tell them is, guys, stop saying we got to think outside the box. There's no box. The box doesn't exist. This is your box. And if you think it has limits, well, then it does. And if you don't think it has limits, well, then it doesn't. So if you guys haven't found your bearing, found your target that you're going to shoot for as a professional, don't worry about it. How the heck are you going to find that unless you have an experience, like Supreet did, that inspires you, that really grabs a hold of you? You gentlemen have, because you've both been, in PT before as patients, and that was an inspiring, thank goodness, experience for you. And now that's where you want to go with your professional careers, and that's awesome. But for those of you who haven't had experiences like that, by all means, go out and create those opportunities for yourself. Say, hey, anything. Can I do your laundry for you in the clinic? Like, whatever. It doesn't matter. But put yourself close to people that you want to be like, or that have walked a path that you hope to walk someday, and go be next to them. Even if you don't say a word, just go see what it's like. And in 5 minutes, you're going to know, man, this sucks. I would never want to do this, which is great information, right? Because then you can course correct and go find another thing. And when you find the one that just lights you up and makes you go, man, I could see myself doing this every day for the rest of my life, that's the one. But how are you ever going to find it if you don't go create those opportunities and put yourself out there? It's very important, because you're going to spend more time as an adult working than you were ever going to spend as a young adult student, right? So you might as well find something, or commit to finding something, that is going to really light you on fire and keep you moving, because that's what will earn you the most money. That's what will keep you going harder and longer when you want to quit. That's what will keep you in the game of taking risk so that you can grow whatever it is that whatever path you begin on. Because if you really are not invested in it and you don't truly love it, and you're just like, I'm just doing it for the paycheck, that ain't enough to sustain you 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, whatever it might be. Not even 5 or 10 years probably. You're gonna get fat, you're gonna be miserable, you're gonna burn out, et cetera, right? Hopefully not, but it really does matter. And this thing about like having to love everything about what you do, that's bullshit. You're not gonna always love everything about what you do. You're gonna love most of it. Like, I hate paperwork. I'll be the first person to tell you. You know, I go to my desk sometimes and I look at my desk and I'm like, oh God, because I got a lot of stuff to go. That's the part that I don't like, but 90% is a pretty damn good ratio of I love going to work every day. I love going to work every day. You know, everybody who tells me, slow down, why are you working so hard? Why are you still pushing so much? Dude, because I love it. It gives me energy. You know, it doesn't like I don't have to oh God, I have to go to work today. It's like, no, babe, I'm going to work today, to my wife, later. And she's like, yeah, get out of here. Because she knows like it lifts me up. And that's the kind of stuff that you guys want to look for. Those are the kind of opportunities you want to try to uncover for yourselves, okay? And they're out there, you just have to ask. You just have to ask. And please don't ever be bashful about asking. Worst thing that someone can say is, nah. Anybody ever asked somebody out and they said no? I'm the only one? Dang, I suck. Okay, anybody else? You guys have any questions about your major, about applying to graduate schools, prerequisites, things like that? One of the things that I did last night, and I think Karen, Efren, and Kevin. Okay, you three are the only ones in the room that know for certain right now you want to go to PT school, right? Okay, más o menos, kind of, sort of. Okay, here's one thing I did last night as an exercise. I got on CSUMB's website. I went to the kinesiology major. I looked at the curriculum, and then I opened up a couple of websites from graduate schools for physical therapy in California. I went to USC, which is the #1 ranked program, okay, in the country actually. I went to UCSF, SFSU, and I went to Cal State Long Beach. And I opened up those 3 physical therapy degree programs. Your prerequisites in the current kinesiology curriculum do not cover all of the prerequisite coursework that's required for you to enter a graduate degree program in physical therapy. So what that means is you guys are going to finish your bachelor's degree here. All right, I graduated with the BS in kines. And then you're going to go, shit, I can't even apply to PT school because my major didn't cover a lot of the prerequisites. So if you know already that you want to become PTs, right now, start opening up physical therapy graduate degree program websites. Right now, today. Look at all the prerequisite courses that are requirements for entry. Because outside of those, you're going to have to do volunteer hours in clinics like ours. You're going to have to do work-related hours. You're going to have to do observation hours, volunteer hours, work, etc., etc., etc. But the coursework, the classes that you must have taken just to be able to apply with a solid application are not all covered in your current major. So unless you're going to be doing summers at Hartnell or an MPC, figuring out and taking extra coursework, reverse engineer your whole education right now and begin with the end in mind. So look at the graduate school. Let's say that, Kevin, you want to go to the #1 top dog school in the country and you're going to go to USC. Go to their website right now, for example. Look at all of their prerequisite coursework and then look at your major and all of the coursework that's contained within your major. And for your elective classes that you get to choose, you need to choose electives now that knock off the prerequisites for that graduate degree program before you graduate. Otherwise, you're going to graduate and you're going to be like, damn, I gotta go back and take 6 more classes because my major didn't have them in it, but the school I want to go to requires them. Shit. Like, you see what I'm saying? There's going to be a big dilemma there. So do the work now, reverse engineer it, figure out where you want to go, or narrow down the list to a few schools, graduate schools for physical therapy degree programs. Look at what's required to get into those programs, and then reverse engineer your current education. You might even need to switch majors, because maybe there's a major here at CSUMB that covers more or all of the prerequisite coursework that's required to get into that graduate degree program. Do you understand? Don't leave yourself hanging and be like, oh man, like here's what happened to me, and this is why I'm so passionate about speaking to this. I was a physiological science major declared at UCLA as an undergrad. All right, physiological science, whatever that means, it'll get me into med school, right? Okay, so I get there and I start going through, and then my second year I had that experience with where I hurt my back. I went to a physical therapist and I was like, boom, this is what I want to do. Well, then I started looking at PT schools and I was like, damn, a lot of the classes that I've already taken, first year and a half at UCLA, they're not going to count toward getting me in to physical therapy school. I'm going to be in trouble. So I started looking like, what other majors here at UCLA would get more of those prereqs covered to get me into PT school. So I switched from physiological science to psychobiology. And that covered almost everything, not quite, but almost everything. And I did a couple of classes over the summers, you know, before I hit my last year. And then because I was working and I was enjoying the beach in Los Angeles and all that stuff, I decided to stay a fifth year and get a minor in business administration, which, you know, helped me a little bit, but reverse engineer everything so that you guys aren't having to do more and more and more school and delaying your career just because you didn't realize like, oh man, my major doesn't have all the requisite coursework that's required for me. Does that make sense to all of you guys on camera? I hope so. Good. Yes. Yes, you can. Yes. Yes, absolutely, positively. Here's what I'm saying. I would prefer, if I could go back and redo everything over again, I would prefer to get out in the and get working sooner rather than later. Because the more time that goes by, the harder things get, right? And the more you may be hamstringing yourself, because getting your undergraduate degree is such a small part of what you're going to have to invest in yourself throughout the rest of your career. I mean, I've personally, I have spent well over $100,000 on education for myself since I left school. Let me say that again. I've spent well over $100,000 on education for myself since I left school. So what you're spending now, parents are spending now, whatever loans you're taking out now to educate yourselves, it's the tip of the iceberg if you want to be the best of the best as you move on. You're going to have to keep investing in yourself to get better. You must. It doesn't end with school. If it ends with school, or if you leave campus and you never read another book again, or you never do any of your own research again, or you never read primary journal articles again that are peer reviewed, you know, and studies, et cetera, like, why did you even go to school in the first place? Like, you've got to keep learning your entire life, and you have to keep investing in yourself. So the time that you spend in this phase of learning, the shorter you can keep it, the better, because you're going to learn as a professional and you're going to keep learning as a professional. I mean, just for us, we're required every year to keep our licensure to go to continuing education, 30 hours, you know, 30 hours of continuing education to keep our license current, okay? And that's just a requirement. And you do that, you can do that online, you can do it in person, et cetera, but you know, a lot of our coursework is not didactic in a classroom. It's, you know, clinical. It's working on people, it's working on patients, it's doing differential diagnosis, it's analyzing the way people move, their biomechanics, et cetera. So get there as quickly as you can. Okay, if you already know what it is that you want to do. I know you're having fun. I know it's a blast in college and you're making good friends and you're having a good time. But if you really have that burning in your stomach already, like this is what I want to commit my life to, and this is how I want to impact the world, and this is how I want to serve people, why would you want to delay that? Get there as quickly as you can. Okay, Andrea, any questions? She's good? Okay. Anybody else? You guys have anything else that you want to ask? Yeah.
Well, I'm a little curious about, I have to take a physics to satisfy prerequisites for some of the schools. Would you recommend a calculus calculus-based physics, would that add a serious limitation to certain schools like it is?
What do you want to do?
I'm really interested in physical therapy or graduate program.
Okay.
Therapy.
I don't think it matters. I think just take whatever physics class the graduate degree program that you think you may want to attend would require. Whether it's calculus based or not, I don't think it matters. I really don't. Unless you really love calculus and it just makes you happy. I mean, if you do, then I'm going to give you a bow, man. This is a good question. Again, so at this point in your undergraduate education, we'll call it career, right, or path. You're here because you want to get somewhere, right? Well, if you know where that is already, then everything that you do today needs to be in line with where it is you want to be going. And the only way to do that is to, like I said before, reverse engineer it all. If you know the where already, and if you don't, that's okay. I'm not putting any pressure on anybody. Most people don't. Like if you went around campus and polled, every random person you passed, what do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up? What kind of career are you going to, a lot of people are going to be like, I don't know. I just don't know. Well, okay, then what are you doing? And why are you here? Well, you're all here because you're going somewhere. And if you're lucky enough to already know where that somewhere is, then get real granular about how you're going to get there. And look at the degree programs you may be interested in going to. Figure out exactly what 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 physics classes they will accept, and only look at those physics classes while you're here. Don't even consider any other physics classes because you're just wasting your time. You understand? Does that make sense? So look ahead. If you're really interested, as you said, in PT and physical therapy, let's say you love the beach, you like to surf, and you want to go to Cal State Long Beach, so you can be down in Southern California beaches in your off time, surfing the waves. Cool. Go to CSU Long Beach website, PT department, look at their admission requirements, look at what your coursework is now in the major that you have here, and make sure there's as much overlap as possible. That's it. Simple. Reverse engineer. Thanks for coming. Your name? Jackie. Nice to meet you. I'm John. Yes, Karen. Speak up, speak up. Great question. Experience while attending graduate school. So it's different than undergrad. And Jen and I touched on it just a minute ago outside. She's like, oh my gosh, UCLA, USC, et cetera, et cetera. I went to both UCLA and then to USC. And as an undergrad, like I said before, you're only here because you're trying to get somewhere, right? Because God's honest truth is, if you stop here with a bachelor's degree, unless you already know or have something set up for you when you're done with school, you're not going to likely find a career that's going to create an unbelievably livable wage for you, right? Unless you create it for yourself, which is very possible these days with a Wi-Fi connection and a telephone, right? You can monetize anything these days. For God's sake, they sell cat videos. But graduate school is different because when you get there, your purpose for being there is different. If we use this future ER physician that's sitting right here in front of everybody, when she gets to medical school and she starts doing her rotations, if she doesn't really learn that material, and I show up to her a few years down the road on a bloody gurney in the ER after a bad car accident, and she doesn't know her shit, I'm gonna die, okay? That's the difference. Like, that is the difference. If you come to my practice and let's say that, God forbid, you were doing flips on a trampoline and you landed funny on your neck, and you came into my office and you were like, hi John, I'm Karen, and I was doing some fun on a trampoline last weekend and I've been like this ever since, and I've got really bad burning pain to the back of my ear and I can't swallow really well. Can you help me? If I don't know what I'm doing, I'm gonna really hurt you, okay? So the purpose when you get to graduate school becomes a little bit more serious if you were in a professional degree program, because the intention, the reason is not to, hey, I wanna get my bachelor's so that I can get into graduate school. The reason is, I'm here to get professionally trained so that I can go out into the world and take care of people. That's different. So the seriousness of purpose, I would say, gets ratcheted up a notch. Okay, maybe 10 notches. At least it did for me. You know, when I put my hands on your neck in clinic, or you come in limping and I determine that it's because of a talocrural joint dysfunction in your ankle, and I'm going to manipulate your ankle, I need to know what I'm doing. Otherwise you're going to be, in bad shape. So the seriousness of purpose, I think, is what changes if you're in a professional graduate degree program. That's what I would suggest. Anybody else? Please. Use me, beat me, whatever you got. Jen, if you have questions, fire away.
What does a day of your life look like?
Cool. As a clinician or as a business owner?
Let's talk clinician first.
Okay, great. So as a clinician, we all have MacBook Pros or Surface Pros in clinic on little rolly carts so that we can do what we call point of service documentation. So that if you're my patient, you came to me with, let's say you're doing bench pressing and you're on my schedule of about 15 or so patients for a day. I'm going to do a chart review, meaning I'm going to open up your file on the computer. I'm going to look at your prescription. I'm going to look at any x-rays or MRIs that we have. I'm going to look at your patient intake paperwork, your age, your gender, your past medical history, any medications you're currently taking, any other prior injuries you may have had, hospitalizations, if there was an MOI or mechanism of injury, or did this shoulder pain just kind of creep up in you? And I'm going to get all of that in my head, and I'm going to create an image of you before I ever go out and meet you, okay? And I'm going to be thinking about it. And then my evaluation of you is going to begin the moment I watch you stand up from the chair in the lobby and come out to get you and take you into an exam room. And I'm going to watch the way that you move. I'm going to be very keenly aware of whether or not you reach to shake my hand like this, or if you reach to shake my hand like that. Because if you reach to shake my hand like this, I know you have some rotator cuff dysfunction. But if you reach to shake my hand like this, I know your rotator cuff's probably fine, okay? Probably. Then I'm going to get you into the exam room. Hey, thank you so much for choosing us. How did you hear about us? What brought you here today? I did your chart review. I'm familiar with all the basics, but what problem do you want me to solve for you? Why are you here? And then we're going to get granular. What is it that is bothering him? How is it hurting him? What does he want to accomplish? What are his goals? Then we're going to go to the clinical exam. Please take off your shirt. We're going to watch the way you move. We're going to do some tests, and we're going to do some special tests if they're necessary or warranted based on what you've told me already. We're going to create a treatment plan. I'm going to tell you what my expectations of you are. I'm going to prognosticate for you. I'm going to tell you, here's what I think is wrong. Here's how many visits I think it's going to take to get you where you want to go based on your goals. Are you ready to begin? And then we're going to start to treat that day. And then we'll probably see him either once a week or twice a week or 3 times a week, depending on the severity of his problems, depending on what his goals are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what a patient case looks like. And repeat that somewhere between, on a short day, 8 to 10 patients, and on a long day, gnarly day, 18 to 22 patients. So that's essentially how it goes. And in an outpatient clinical environment, our clinics, they imagine a really nicely, beautifully outfitted gym, okay, with specialized equipment, with about 20 tables that go up and down, peppered, throughout that space. Okay, that's kind of what our clinic environment is like. It's a big, giant, wide open space with lots of rehab equipment, specialized treadmills, and then exam tables and treatment tables. And then we have private rooms, because if you're an athlete who's got a high groin strain, we don't want to pull your shorts up in front of God and everybody in the clinic. So we take you to a private exam room. If it's a sensitive body part, we always do that kind of stuff behind closed doors. But otherwise, we like being out in clinic. Okay, great question. So that's the clinical part. Okay, so as a business owner, as founder and CEO of a company, my main role right now is to vision the future of where our company is going to go and how it's going to continue to serve different communities. This community, of course, and other communities in which we're expanding. How we're going to recruit the best talent, how we're going to hire them, how we're going to train them, how we're going to incentivize them, and ultimately how we're going to retain them over time. And in some cases, partner with them, share in the profits in the company with them, okay? So casting a vision is very, very important. Making sure that everybody understands their role, making sure that everyone is in the right seat, because sometimes if you've got, we'll call it driver A and driver B, and driver A really knows how to drive on a racetrack and driver B really knows how to drive off-road, but you put them in the wrong chair, you're going to crash the car. You're going to crash the truck. But if you get them in the right seat, wow, how much better do they do out there on the road? So I'm constantly evaluating and reevaluating our current clinical and administrative staff. Are they making the mark? In other words, are they the best person in that seat? And if not, where else might they flourish? Where else might they do really, really well? What are their weaknesses? What are their strengths? When we have our one-on-one meetings, we do what we call SWOT analysis. SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. That's an old business term. It's a SWOT analysis, very simple. And then, and probably most importantly, I don't know if you guys have a is that an actual whiteboard? It is? Can I write on it?
Yeah.
So you guys are here in school. It's not gonna work, is it? So I'll put soft skills here, and I'll put hard skills here. And we'll call this inept with people, meaning shy, reserved, never likes to talk, always looking down, no eye contact. And this is great with people out here. And then over here on the hard skills, we'll call this a novice down here, and we'll call this an expert up here. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this pen is terrible. And then if we draw an X like this, right here. Can you guys see that okay? Up here are superstars. These are the top performers in any company. They've got great soft skills with people, and they're really good at what they do. They're experts, okay? Oh man, you are my homie. I love it. Okay, let's see. Thank you, because this is kind of embarrassing. I feel like, there we go. That's better. Okay, thank you very much. Superstars up there. You guys got this part? Great with people, inept with people, soft skills, novice, expert, hard skills, okay? And then here, we'll call it dangerous. You don't really know if you can trust them with people, how they're going to treat people. You're not too confident in their skills, but man, you know, if you keep this person around, they're going to bring everybody else on your team down a little bit. So as an owner and as a visionary and as a CEO, I'm constantly trying to develop people to be up here, and I'm trying to weed people out that are here. And I know that might sound harsh, you know, but the reality is most people are going to change their careers at least once in their future, most people, okay? I've transitioned from clinician, okay, to business owner, CEO, driver, visionary, but I'm still a clinician, and I still treat patients, and I still teach, and I love it, but I have to be more than that. So I've had to focus a lot on this to become that, and I've had to focus on this as well so that I can be an example for the rest of the team to move into that right upper quadrant. So in business, any business, at the end of the day, you guys, it's about people. It's not about making whatever product you're making. It's not about delivering whatever service you're delivering. It's about how do you connect with another human being in a way that's meaningful to them. And when I say meaningful, I mean so meaningful that they're willing to spend their hard-earned money coming to buy your product or your service. If they don't see value in it, you're not going to have any business to speak of, right? Dollars will always follow value, you guys. Remember that. I have had a couple of people in the company over a span of 20 plus years that are unbelievable right here. I mean, they got more letters after their last name than I am ever going to have after my last name. And they're like, oh wow, you know, they've done this certification and they're an expert in this and an expert in that. And you get them into an exam room with a person who's scared, who's terrified, who's mistrusting, who doesn't know if they really, really want to, you know, spend the kind of money it's going to take to get rid of their ailments that they have. And well, this person just thinks that because, you know, I've got all these letters after my last name and I'm wearing a shirt and tie and I'm the doctor that, you know, of course you're going to get what you want and need here. Bullshit. Not with that kind of a personality. So I've had to coach those people up on, hey man, you gotta work on your people skills. So that's my job as a business owner. Similarly, I've had a couple of people, and I've actually let a couple of people over the years go over this. They're out here, they're unbelievable with their people skills, but I'll ask them about a particular special test that's really important to do with somebody with cervical pathology and trauma, and they don't even know what test I'm talking about. Do I want to send my mom in there with a neck injury? No. Do I want to send my wife in there with a neck injury? No. So I would much rather, as a business owner, if you give me somebody who's, let's say here, or you give me somebody who's here, okay? I'm going to ask this of the group. Which of those two people do you think I want to hire? Which of those two people do you think I want to hire? Do I want to hire the person who's super duper expert but doesn't really have great people skills? Or do I want to hire the person who's got great people skills and isn't quite an expert yet? Who do I want to hire? Yeah, you're right, Karen. I want to hire this person. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. What's harder to teach? I'm an expert in my field, in my craft. Okay, I'm in the top 2% nationwide if you look at my background and my history. Okay, I'm here already and I'm getting better. I'm still learning, I'm still investing in myself, I'm still educating myself constantly. I'm here. I can teach people this stuff all day long, and I do. But it's real hard for me to teach people this stuff. I would posit, which means I would suggest to any of you guys, it's harder to teach a person how to treat other people than it is to teach a person skills. Okay? You guys are here in school and you're learning, you know, all kinds of things. You're learning physiology, you're learning anatomy, you're learning microbiology, you're learning biology, physics, calculus-based physics, you know, all kinds of stuff. You're learning knowledge. You're getting didactic education. But how am I going to teach you to take that didactic knowledge and deliver it to a very insecure, scared shitless out of their mind, can't walk up the stairs to their bedroom, can't move their shoulder around back to wipe their bum when they're in the toilet, can't walk to pick up their child? I mean, how do I get you to treat that human the way that they need and want and desperately are seeking your expertise out to be treated if you don't know how to articulate what you know? It's much harder for me to teach somebody this stuff than it is for me to teach somebody this stuff. So if I'm in an interview with somebody, let's say it's you two ladies, okay? And you've got your doctorate of physical therapy, you've got your doctorate of physical therapy, and you're both fresh out of school, and you're both solid, good students, okay? And you've both done a couple of extra certifications, this, that, and the other thing. And you come to me and you talk to me about your family, and you talk to me about your siblings, and you talk to me about, you know, your mom and your dad and how they came to this country, and you ask me all kinds of questions about my family, and you know, you tell me about what you're excited about the career and the job, and you tell me what you're scared about and where you really think you're going to need some help and some mentorship, and all you tell me about is, well, you know, I did such and such and such and such at such and such rotation, and I believe that, and there's no connection on a human level. It's all just academic. I'm hiring you all day long, okay? And you guys need to remember that when you go out in the workplace, because people build businesses. I built a business. I built a company. And now I have this amazing team around me that's helping me continue to build the company. They're not with me and they're not following me because I'm like the grand poobah expert in the country of, you know, didactic physical therapy skills. There are a lot more people out there with a whole lot more accolades behind their name than me. They're with me because I know how to treat them. They're with me because I know how to take care of people. I know how to listen. I know how to be empathetic. I know how to shut up when I need to shut up. You know, and I'm very, very aware that it's important to treat people fairly, but you do not have to treat people the same. Okay? You just don't, because people don't have different needs. People don't have the same needs, rather. People have different needs and different wants, different desires. Some people want to work really, really, really hard and make a ton of money, and some people want to leave at 3 o'clock every single day so that they can go play tennis. Okay, cool. So you're going to leave at 3 o'clock and go play tennis, and you want to add an extra 10 hours to your work week, and you want to see patients 50 hours a week so you can produce more revenue for yourself, so you can save a nest egg to buy a home here in Monterey. Cool. We can do that for you, no problem, because that's what you want. It's people. So focus on people. Karen, may I give you a little bit of feedback? I'm sure you're an unbelievable student, unbelievable, and very focused, but whenever you addressed me up here today, I could barely hear you. And I know it's not just because of the mask, okay? It might be because you're not really confident with projecting yourself. So I would suggest, if I may, work on that, because I bet you have a lot to offer. I bet you have a tremendous amount of compassion in your soul and really good horsepower behind what it is you want to do in your future. But nobody's ever going to know it unless you let them know. Okay? You might have to get in people's faces a little bit, but ultimately, you and I making a connection, I knew immediately by the way you spoke to me that there may be cultural differences between you and I. There may be gender differences between you and I. There may be confidence differences between you and I. It doesn't matter. If you show up the way that other people need you to show up, you're going to do fine. And you're going to crush it, whatever you decide to do. But think about those things. Okay? People. Anything else? Come on, guys.
How about maintaining work-life balance?
Okay. Great question. The reason I laugh is this. It's a myth. And here's what I mean by that. What is a scale that's perfectly balanced? A scale that's perfectly balanced is at what? Say it. What is a scale that's perfectly balanced? It's at 0. Who wants to be a 0 in this room? I don't. You want to be a 0? You want to be a 0 ER doc? No. You want to be a 0 lecturer? No. If you're not going to be a 0, meaning perfectly balanced, you have to realize that sometimes, and this is seasons of life, this is seasons of a day, this is seasons in your mind, in your heart, etc. Sometimes you got to push, man. Okay, and I would say, rather than push, sometimes you have to find something to pull you. Because nobody's pushing me. My whole family, my dad, my mom, my brothers, even my wife to a certain extent, why are you still growing the company? Oh my God, what are you doing? Why don't you just slow down? And my answer is, because I love what I'm doing, and I'm helping more people, and I'm impacting more lives, and I'm creating more careers for great people. And yeah, it's scary, and yeah, it's completely uncertain, and I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but some seasons of your life, you have to work hard, period. And you have to shut everything else out. In some seasons of your life, like right now, I'm in dad season. I've got a 14-year-old daughter who's on a travel soccer team and is playing field hockey. I've got a 13-year-old daughter who is on her way to her black belt and is already breaking boards with her elbows and fists and her kicks and all this stuff, and who's on a volleyball team. And I've got a 10-year-old daughter who's on a travel soccer team and is also a martial artist. And we're a crazy, nutty family. But I also have 86 employees that I care deeply for and who I want to see go out and live their best lives and plug into their families just as much as I'm plugged into mine. And I tell all of my guys on our leadership team, men and women, I don't mean guys literally, I mean people. I want you guys to be the best mothers and fathers first. I want you to be the best husbands and wives and boyfriends and girlfriends first. I want you to be the best parents first. I want you to be the most healthy you can be first. And then I want you to come to work and kick ass and take names. Because if you're no good at home, you're not going to be any good here. Because at home, okay, if things aren't really, really well put together and mom and dad are not, solid connected, or partners are not solid connected, and kids are, out of their mind, misbehaving, no direction, no discipline, try to come to work and focus when you know what you have going on at home. It's pretty near impossible. But on a daily basis, sometimes you're going to put in a little bit more work. I miss some of my kids' stuff. I do. Not all of it, certainly, but I'm not there for everything. You're going to have to give up certain things to have other things. And sometimes it's going to be a little heavy on family, and sometimes it's going to be a little heavy on your career. And it's just going to constantly be going like this. Okay? It's always in a state of flux. You are the barometer for your entire life. And it just comes down to what you want. What you want. And anybody who says to you ever, I have an uncle like this, and I'm pulling examples from my mind. He used to say to me all the time, money isn't everything, John, and I would say back to him, because I don't take shit from anybody, family or not, uncle or not, elder or not, nobody. Well, that's great, Uncle Mark. It sounds like somebody who's never had any, because he never has, never did, until my grandfather passed away. And now he's in a completely different place. Well, don't tell me, that money's not everything because I have a dream that I want to go create and I want to work hard for it. Don't tell me that. You know, I didn't grow up with anything. I'm the son of an immigrant who came from Iran. Married my mom that he met in college, who had me when she was 19, before they were even married. Neither of my parents went to college. I'm the first one in my entire family. That's where I come from. Okay? So, you know, odds are that I shouldn't be, you know, at the helm of a multi-million-dollar company that I founded 20 years ago, but I am because of my own agency. I did this, and I'm continuing to do it, and you can do it too. Anything you want to create, you can create. You just have to commit to it, and you have to be willing. You know, when people ask about work-life balance, I'm in the work phase of my life right now. Thank you very much. And don't make apologies to anybody or excuses to anybody about what you're doing. You know what you're doing, and I've always known what I'm doing. Okay? So work-life balance. It's a myth because on any given day, you're going to be out of balance. Otherwise, you're at, let me hear you all say it, you're at what? 0. You're not pouring yourself into your family. You're not pouring yourself into your career. You're not pouring yourself into your health. You're not pouring yourself into helping other people. Because as long as you're doing any one of those things, you're never going to be perfectly balanced. Because if you are, you're not doing shit. Sorry. That's my answer. You know?
Good answer.
Thanks.
Said that way before.
I had to think about it, but that's kind of where, that's what I got. That's what I got. You guys, come on. I got 5 minutes. I have to be in Watsonville in 1 hour. So,
Some of them have class at 11.
okay. Any final questions, thoughts, concerns? Did you get what you came for? Did you get a little more than what you came for? That's okay too. So I have some business cards up here, you guys. And like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I've got some, these are our company locations. You guys take each, and if you ever have a question or a concern, reach out to us. If you ever want to come by and see a very busy physical therapy practice in action, come by. If you ever think you want to have an internship or a part-time job as an aide in one of the clinics, you know, come by, hit us up. You know, we're always looking. And in fact, if you guys haven't had him yet, Ryan Luke, he's a professor in the kinesiology department. He constantly will feed us students who express to him, hey, you know, I want to be a physical therapist. You got any connections in the community? And Ryan and I and Ken Adams and I have had an ongoing long-term relationship, and those guys will always recommend students to our practice to come and shadow, you know, have an internship or even get a part-time job as an aide, and because we're always looking for great people. Okay, thank you for your time. Thank you guys. Sure. Oh my gosh, my pleasure. You got it, you guys.